Okay, so we are into our project. So this is the organization. Already we have seen this is our project. Inside the project, we'll go for first for the CI pipeline again. Okay, so I'll have a new pipeline. This time I'll rename it eShop on Web CI release gates. Choose the repository, existing. Choose the same pipeline for the build. eShop on Web CI. Again, fetching the resources from the repository, Azure native repository. Trigger is none. Stages are built. There is no deploy stage over here. Okay. So yeah, this deploy stage I'll remove, which we added in the last class. Okay, we'll remove this. So instead of embedding a deploy stage in the same CI pipeline or the CI creating a same CI job, instead of that, we will be more focusing on the release pipeline, which is also meant for deployment, but there are some release gates which we follow. What are those release gates? We'll see when we create the release pipeline. So as of now, the same step what we are doing as of now, like in the last classes as well, just the build step. Okay, build step. So there is, it will fetch the code. It will, then there are tasks inside the job, and job is run by some Azure pipeline agent, maybe Ubuntu, Windows, whatever. Task, restore task, build a task, test task, and publish pipeline artifact. So we'll be saving and running this. Save and run. We rename this we shop on web underscore release gates. We'll create some resources for the release pipeline first because we'll be deploying into the app service plan. So till the pipeline is running, what we can do, we can go to the Azure portal. We can open the bash terminal. Region, I'll take West Europe. You might not be having the problem by taking East US or West US or any other. Since my quotas are over, so I'm taking West Europe as of now. resource group name is the 400. Module is 3. Lab is number 8, L08 hyphen RG is the resource group name. AZ group create will be the command to create a resource group. So AZ group create hyphen N, that is the name of the resource group. So calling the variable resource group name, resource group name, and hyphen L for location. So we'll call the region. So a resource group will be created here. Then we'll create the service plan. Service plan name equals AZ400 module 03 lab 08 hyphen SP1. That is service plan. Always take naming conventions according to your organization. Whatever is followed in your organization, follow that. Service plan name is that. Then we'll create app service plan create AZ app service plan create, and the name. So we need to create in the resource group hyphen G resource group name, then the service plan name hyphen N dollar service plan name, and the SKU storage keeping unit hyphen hyphen SKU. So let's take S1 for the storage keeping unit. So there is F1, B1, B2, B3, S1, S2, S3. We are taking a standard plan, S1. Okay. So this will create app service plan. Under that, we will be creating web apps. Create a variable. Store some random values just to now we'll create the web app inside the app service plan. AZ web app create hyphen group dollar resource group name and in which service plan we are creating. So hyphen P for that plan, dollar service plan name hyphen N. So we are working for the release gates here. So I'll give the name as R gates, that is release gates, and we'll call that suffix dollar suffix. So in that suffix, there is a random value. And after that, you'll name as dev test. So the name of this web app will be R gets the value and the dev test. That will be the name. One more web app will be creating for the production. Okay, this is for the dev test environment. We'll create one for production. Instead of dev test, we'll take prod here. All the values are same. Just we are creating another web app in the same app service plan with the prefix as prod. Two app service plans are created here. If you go and check the resource group, this is the resource group we created. There is an app service plan. Inside that, there are two web apps. This is the plan. These are the two web apps. Now we'll look for an app insight, application insight monitoring resource. As of now, just take a note of all the resources what we are creating, like app service plan, web apps, and this application insight for application monitoring. For the application insight, let's take the same name for the dev test app. Click on create, choose the same resource group, give the name of the dev test web app, the same name to the application insight as well. Since we need to monitor that application in the web test environment, for that purpose, we are creating this application insight. After creating this application insight monitoring resource, we have to enable it from the dev test web app so that it can monitor the application in the dev test web app. Who is OnePlus? Can you please change your name?
मॉर्निंग सर अफजल दिस साइड चेंज कर रहा हूँ.
हाँ हाँ. Okay, no issues. Okay, a resource is created. Let's go to the app environment, app service, dev test. From the monitoring section, we go to the application insight, monitoring. Turn on application insight. Select an existing resource. So this is the resource we created. Select it and apply. What changes it will do? It will install an application agent into the web app, dev test web app, so that it can monitor the metrics. Can download the metrics from the dev test web app and it can monitor it. You can see one option enabled over here, view application insights data. If you click on that, this will redirect you to the application insight resource. And here it will track your web application, basically your application. In the monitoring section, we'll click on alerts. And based on this application insight, since it is monitoring the web app, we'll create one alert rule over here. So let's select see all signals. While network is a bit slow actually. Go to application insight, resource, alerts, create alert rule, see all signals. Yes. Okay. Let's search for request over here. Request. In the request, we'll get one matrix called failed request. Select that failed request, click on apply. In the failed request section, threshold type, let it be static. Aggregation type will be count. Value will be greater than. Unit will be count. And threshold, let it be 0.
Abhishek, what are all those parameters?
Come again?
What are all those parameters which we are setting? Aggregate type, count, values.
Yes. Actually, whenever the application will be deployed in the dev test environment, so what will happen? We are creating an alert based on these signals. Okay. Now, signal is failed request. So, whenever you get a failed request and that failed request, it should be having these parameters like uh, the number of request, the number of counts, like failed request count will be there, like one failed request, two failed request, three failed request, four failed request, like this. Okay. So aggregation type, how you are doing? So we are taking it as count here. Okay. So number of count will be there. Value of those count should be greater than. Okay. Again, now these are some, you can say, statistics parameters, like by which we can record those values, failed request values, like they are taking aggregate value or based on that. Okay. So unit will be count only, and threshold we are taking at 0, because like if we take a threshold value of 5 or 10, then we have to wait for some specific time. So it is like that we are considering that even one request get fails, then also we should get an alert. That's why I've taken that threshold as 0, so that by the first time only when we'll get the failed request, we should get an alert into the email. That's why these values are related to the failed request. Okay, parameters are related to the failed request. How the failed request will be count.
Okay, and the logs which we will check. So these logs we will get in the web app or here in the application
No, no, no,
insights only we have to.
no. You will get into log analytics, and these logs will go into the log analytics, and you
Okay,
will get an alert basically in your email. Okay.
okay.
Actions, details, resource group, and this is a kind of a warning alert. So there are 5 kinds of alert: critical, error, warning, informational, and verbose. So this is a kind of a warning alert, and alert rule name is, you can take like R gates dev test underscore failed requests. So in the advanced option, automatically resolved alert. So alert should be cleared automatically. Okay. And enable upon creation. So whenever the alert is created, enable at the same time. Review and create. So now we have created a warning alert for the failed request. So if our application will get any kind of failed request, it will give us an alert. Okay. Now, since the alert is created here, we'll go back to the pipeline. This pipeline is completed. This pipeline is completed. Now we'll go to the release. As of now, till date, we have not created any release pipeline. We'll create it today. Okay. So in the release, we'll set up a release here. New pipeline. In the new pipeline, release pipeline, you can see there are featured tasks. So we'll select out of these template. So let's select Azure App Service Deployment. We need to deploy the app into the app service. So select App Service Deployment. Stage, you can give a name. Suppose this stage is dev test. Okay. So we'll give name as dev test. Dev test. Once this is created, what we'll do? We'll add the artifacts here. So from the build, from which build we will be taking? So the source build is our CI pipeline. So we have given the name to the CI pipeline as eShop on Web Release Gates. We'll choose that. So from here, we will be collecting the artifacts. Okay. Version will always be latest. So whatever the latest artifact will be there, we'll check that one. Add it. And here in the new release pipeline, we'll just rename it eShop on Web hyphen CD. This is CD. Okay. So taking the name as CD. And this lightning bolt, we will turn it on. So this says about the continuous deployment trigger. Means as soon as the CI pipeline will get complete, CD pipeline will trigger. Okay. So we are enabling this. So now there is a check mark you can see in this lightning bolt trigger. Okay. After setting the artifacts, let's come to the stage one. So stage one is dev test here. Within this dev test environment, what we'll do, we'll first clone one more stage over here. So let's open the cloning option and we'll rename this. So instead of copy of dev test, we'll rename it as production. Production. Go to the pipeline. Now, one stage we are having dev test, one stage we are having production. Let's go to the task in the dev test stage. So if you open the task in the dev test stage, stage name is dev test, Azure subscription. So we have two connections. We can choose any one of them. Web app on Windows. Since this is stage one, we will be choosing the first one. Dev test. Come to the agent. So choose the agent here. Azure pipeline agent. Ubuntu latest. We'll leave execution plan and other things as it is. There is one package and folder field. We'll come to deploy an app service, Azure Resource Managed Connection, web app on Windows, app service name, package or folder. Now, this is system.default working directory. We have to update this. So instead of like star.zip, we will take web.zip. Our artifact name will be web.zip after build. And then application and configuration settings. So here we will update that kudu application settings. We'll copy that from here. Just in order to avoid any spaces or anything. This is the one. Come to production task. Again, you can set subscription here, web app on Windows, and you can set this time our prod web app in the second task. Agent, choose your agent. Again, we'll choose pipeline agent. Here, we'll be choosing Ubuntu latest. And then come to the deploy app service task, where we will be mentioning again web.zip. In the application and configuration settings, we'll copy the same kudu application settings what we did in the. Now what we'll do, we'll save this. Before this, we'll go to the pipeline. pipeline is saved here. I'll go to project pipelines again, CI pipeline. I'll run this pipeline. Now, as the pipeline will complete, it will trigger the release as well. So this is again the CI pipeline building up. After published task, if you go to the release, so as of now, you can see no release is created.
Abhishek, for release pipelines, we are not writing the YAML file. We are directly configuration. We are doing in the portal only, or how?
Yeah, I'll explain. Wait, let me complete
Okay.
first. So as a part of continuous trigger, a release is being set over here. A release is being set. So what it will do, this release, if you go for the click on that release, okay, is the release as a part of automatic trigger. It is running. You can see the logs here. Okay. Initiate the job, download the artifact, deploy the artifact into the app service. Production will be queued up after dev test and it will deploy into the production. This is a basic release process. Okay. How you can deploy stage by stage. Stages, this is first stage, this is second stage. You can have dev test, QA, production. Like this, you can create stages. Okay. There's a basic release deployment. Okay. How you can create a release deployment. Now, what all are the options here? First option was enabled or continuous deployment trigger. So we enabled that in the artifact section where it is downloading the artifact. Second thing, once this is completed, we'll see the options in the stage about the pre and post deployment triggers. What are pre deployment triggers and what are post deployment triggers? Meanwhile, we can check for the dev test first. Is running or not. So this is the dev test. Now this is application insight resource. Go to app service and dev test. Browse is loading. Next, go to the prod one. Let's see if this is completed. Yes, this is also completed. So browse the prod one. This is also working. Now, if we talk about this release, okay, let me edit the pipeline. You can see there are some set of triggers over here, some set of triggers over here. These are known as pre-deployment conditions, and these are known as post-deployment conditions. Now, if I talk about pre-deployment conditions, what we can trigger, if I click on this, there are some options like artifact filters, schedule, pull request deployment, like based on pull request, pre-deployment approvers, and there are gates. Okay, gates we will discuss. Let's see pre-deployment approvals first. So in the pre-deployment approvals, you can have approvers here. Suppose, so I can approve my own. Okay, timeout you can set 30 days, 30 hours, so days, hours, minutes you can set here. Okay, the user requesting a release or deployment should not approve it. Okay, these are some default settings for approval policies which will be set up in the organization level. Revalidate identity of approver before completing the approval. Skip approval if the same approver approved the previous stage. These are some settings. Okay. As of now, I'll leave these settings here and I'll close this. Now you can see there is a check mark in the pre-deployment stage as well. Means an approver is needed. If you save this and if you click on create release, it will create a release number 2. It will create a release number 2. So release 2 has been created. Now if we click on release 2 here, it says pending approval. Someone should approve this. We might not get an email due to that free licensing only. Okay. Click on approve. You can write something like approved for dev test. approve. You can reject as well. After approval, it is queued up again and it will trigger the deployment. So this is pre-deployment trigger. Now, once this is completed, I'll show you post-deployment as well. And what is the most important use in the post-deployment trigger? Then we'll talk about the release pipeline. Whatever Akash was asking maybe about the YAML ones. Okay. Okay, this is completed. Second release is completed. Now, if I edit the pipeline, and let's talk about post-deployment conditions over here. So you can see in the post-deployment gates, enable it. When you enable the gate, you can see deployment gates here. Now, if I click on add, you can see number of release gates over here. What are actually these deployment gates or release gates? So this is basically to evaluate all the parameters before deploying the application which is running in dev test. Before deploying it into the production, you should be evaluating all the parameters based on the application which is deployed into the dev test. Now, it is based on the performance. It is based on some other factors as well. What are those? Suppose first one, these are the 6 type of release gates which are provided. Check Azure policy compliance. So are there any security policy compliance in your organization which is not followed by your application or your web app? Okay. So you can check for that. You can apply a check for that. So before deploying it into the production, it will go and check for the policy compliance. Second type, is there any kind of function you want to invoke as a part of the production deployment? Okay. Do you want to invoke any kind of function? So what we have basically in function, we have a kind of script or some simple code which will be running and we can achieve the desired whatever we need. Okay. Invoke Azure function. Third is, do you want to invoke any REST APIs? So are there any REST APIs in your project which you need to invoke to get some data which is required for the production deployment? Third thing. Fourth is query Azure monitor alert. Okay. So we are taking an example of this one, fourth one as of now. Query Azure monitor alert means whatever is application is deployed into the dev test, an application insight we have created and agent of that application insight is installed inside that dev test web app. And what it is doing, it is collecting the metrics. So it is collecting the metrics and it will check the performance of the application based on what signal. So the signal was failed request. Means if we are getting any kind of failed request in the dev test application, so whether it should be able to resolve it by its own, and if it is not able to resolve it, then there is no chance of deploying the same application into the production anymore if the issue is not resolved or if the alert is not resolved. So that is the required check. So we call it as a gate basically. Okay. So you can consider it as a like a gate where whatever is the signals, it will be checking for all the alerts and then it will let pass the deployment to the production release. Okay. So this is query Azure Monitor Alert. Then there is query work item. So it will go and check for the work items which are created for this deployment. Are there any work items which are left out, which are not completed? Okay. So it will query for the item. Sixth one is Sonar Cloud Quality Gate Status Check. So it will go and check for the build, whether whatever the build is created, do that build contains any kind of vulnerabilities in it. So Sonar Cloud, it's a code checking tool basically, Sonar Cloud. Okay. So it will check for the code. Okay. These are some 6 release gates which can be implemented as per the condition, whatever is required. Okay. As per the condition. So suppose as of now, we are just checking the application request. So for that purpose, we will first query monitor alert. Okay. So in the query monitor alert, you can say that you need to create one monitoring alert over here. So suppose let's give it a name here. Okay. So the name will be like query Azure monitor alerts. Now it will be needing a connection. So let's give it a service name. In which resource group we are checking? So we'll be checking in the this resource group where our web apps are there. And we'll expand the advanced options. So filter type, we'll select none. Check for what kind of alert? Severity 0, that is a critical alert. Severity 1, that is a, you can say, uh, severity 1. Severity 2 is a warning alert. Severity 3 is a informational alert. And severity 4 is a verbose alert. Okay. So a failed alert, warning alert, informational alert, verbose alert. Okay. These are kind of alerts. Severity 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we have to check for all the alerts. Okay. Though we have set a severity 2 alert in the application inside for checking the time range, it is given past hour. Okay. You can take for like 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days. Okay. Alert stage, whether the alert is acknowledged or it is a new alert. So for both we will get. Monitoring condition, it should be fired. Okay, alert should be fired. Now evaluation options. The time range of re-evaluation of gates. Okay, so I'll set it to 5 minutes instead of 15 minutes because we don't have that much of time. Okay. Minimum duration of study results after a successful gate evaluation. Okay. And the timeout after which gates fail. So we'll set is 8 minutes. Okay. On successful gates, ask for approvals. So this way we have set these gates is enabled. Okay. Now we'll test this release gate. I'll save that. So for testing the release gate, what we'll do, we'll take the dev test application here, dev test, and we'll browse that dev test application. Now we know that this is the URL for dev test application, but there is no URL which is in use with slash discount. We have not enabled any URL which is like with the name slash discount. Okay. There is no path with the slash discount. Whatever the path is the main URL of that web app. Okay. rgatesdevtest.azurewebsites.net. That is the FQDN we have, fully qualified domain name. But we have no FQDN with the slash discount. We have not created. We don't have any load balancers. We don't have any application gateway where we have created an image, the path routing, path-based routing. We have learned about path-based routing in the uh, past, in the admin part, okay, where we have seen how we can create a path based routing, like this request will go to the image server, this request will go to the video server, like that. Okay, so there is no path which is in the name with the discount. So ultimately when I browse this, when I will browse this, it will result in the failed request. Okay, this is what a failed request look like. Because there is no path based routing with the name discount, only the path is this one, the first one, not the discount. So it will fail. It will likely to fail. Okay. Again, so we will generate 3, 4 alerts. Okay. By clicking on this. Now, what will happen? An alert will trigger. An alert will trigger. So if you go and check for the alerts, if you go to monitor section, check for alerts. Okay. Some alert will be created. So this is the alert. Okay. See, failure anomaly is detected. Okay. So any request failed request set to greater than 0 means any request, even though a one request will fail, then also it will trigger an alert. Okay. So it will take some time to trigger an alert, 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. Then it will start showing the alerts. You can see one alert is fired in the fired condition. Okay. Now we'll go back to the Azure DevOps release pipeline and we'll create a release again now. So a release 3 is created. this check is a part of pre-deployment trigger. Let's see, there is a release gate now. Now you can see a symbol of the release gate here. Once it is completed in the dev test, it will go through the release gate process and it will check for the monitoring alerts. And if it will get a failed alert, then it will check for the next. See, processing of gate started. So evaluation to start in 5 minutes. Okay. See, at 10:02, the deployment is cancelled. As of now, the deployment didn't happen in the production. Okay, cancelled. So now for the next 5 minutes, since there were failed alerts in the queue, so that's why it was cancelled. Now for the next 5 minutes, it will check whether any more alerts are there, failed request alerts are there. And second evaluation will also fail. Since we have requested it multiple times. Okay. So this is an expected behavior. Okay. I think at around 10:07 or 10:08, it will check again. This section is very important. A release gate, always there will be a question. If you will answering questions on Azure DevOps, what do you mean by release gates? So basically, it is nothing. It's an evaluation process, like evaluating the conditions after deploying the application into the previous environment or non-production environment. Maybe that environment can be dev test, maybe that environment can be QA environment. So after deploying it into the non-production environment, it will evaluate for some conditions. What are those conditions? Those conditions are known as post-deployment conditions. What are those post-deployment conditions? So there are 6 types of post-deployment conditions, out of which what we are doing is query for monitoring alerts. Like it is monitoring our application in the non-production environment, and based on that monitoring, it has found some vulnerabilities in the application. What vulnerabilities? That there is a request which is getting failed continuously. Means people are searching for that, users are searching for that, and it is getting failed continuously. So it will check for that. Similar way, you can query for any kind of compliance policy also. Similar way, you can check for the work item as well. Similarly, you can check for Sonar Cloud as well for the code checking or vulnerability checking in the code and the build. Similarly, you can invoke an Azure Function app. Similarly, you can invoke a REST API. Okay. So these are some post-deployment conditions basically as a part of release gates. See, second one also failed at 10:07. Now it will go for a timeout. So no samples has been arrived now. Okay. Now it will check for next 5 minutes. And then if there are no more alerts found, no more alert found, that means the alert have been resolved. Alerts have been resolved automatically. And then it will go and deploy into the production. So waiting for all the gates, whatever we have set, waiting for all the gates to succeed. I have set a long timeout for the pipeline. This is 8 hours. It should be mostly 8 minutes, 10 minutes only, but 8 hours is a quite high time for pipeline to timeout. Okay. So what is this timeout we set for that 8 minutes? That means in next 8 minutes, or as per this pipeline, what we have set in next 8 hours, if the alerts are not resolved, then it will totally cancel the pipeline or it will totally cancel the deployment into the production. That is the meaning of that timeout. So we'll check one more for next 5 minutes, what is just running as of now.
So Abhishek, so
Mhm.
after next 5 minutes also it will fail only, right? Because that extra thing which we are searching in the URL tab, so it is not present in the code. So it will get failed.
Is the number of times user has been searched in that particular time interval. Suppose at 10:02, we clicked the URL 3 times.
Mhm.
Got it? So what happened? It evaluated till 10:02. It started evaluating at 10:02. So it found some failed request. Then it
Mhm.
it delayed it for 5 minutes. Okay. For that is the time interval of checking the URL and again. So at 10:07 also, it found the same request which was there in the 10:02. Okay.
Okay.
Now we did not or you can say we after that we after 10:07 we have not clicked the URL again. Got it?
Okay.
So there might
Okay.
be no failed request now. Okay. There might be no failed
But
request.
the code is not done, Abhishek. So I'm confused. Discount, like discount you have written in the URL. So
That is
that thing is not there.
wait, that is not code. Actually, it is path-based routing. Okay.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
there is no server where there are products with the discount. Okay, there is no extra server. This is path-based routing means suppose I am visiting Netflix. Now I want to see horror movies. So
Hmm.
using path-based routing, it will take me to that particular URL where it will be written like horror movies. Or someone else you want to watch comedy movies or you want to watch stand-ups. So it will take to
Hmm.
that particular server where they have you deployed that particular you can say stand-ups or where they are hosting those stand-ups. In that server it will take. So basically an application gateway is involved to
Hmm.
to make sure that whatever the customer is searching for, the customer should be routed to the same server where it is searching for. Like it is, if it is searching for comedy movies, so it should go to that particular server where the comedy movies are hosted. If you are searching for horror, this is as a part of Netflix I'm talking about, okay, as an example.
Hmm.
Similar way, with our e-commerce application, this e-shop application, there is no server in the path-based routing, or there is no server mentioned where discounted products are, you can say, dip, discounted products. It is like there is no server which is showing the discounted products. Okay, because we have not created any kind of, or we have not deployed any code in another server where it will show the discounted products. That I mean to say. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. So if anyone will search for discounted products like this with a path-based routing slash discount, so this URL does not exist and it is likely to fail. It is likely to fail. It will fail anyhow. So what release gates are checking for? Release gate are checking for failed request. Okay. Now you can see there were three requests, so it failed three times. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Okay, we have refreshed it three times. That means we have searched for the same URL for three times, right or wrong?
Yes, yes, sir.
So as a result, you can see there are three failed requests, like one, two, and three.
Okay.
Next time it will get resolved since there are no more. I'm not sure whether there were three or four clicks I have done. So based on that
Mhm.
only, okay, it will go and this will go until how much time? 8 hours.
5 months.
8 hours. Okay. Timeout means if this will go until 8 hours, means failed requests are still coming by the customers. That means your user or customers, they are not educated on the basics of the they are not educated that this particular pathways routing is not available, or your vendor is not providing this kind of URL. Okay.
Mhm.
So you need to educate your customers before deploying the same into the production. Otherwise, you will be getting same failed request in the production as well. Got it? What I'm trying to say means you have to educate your customer before deploying it into the production that we are not using this URL. Okay.
Mhm.
You need to just
Okay.
browse this one. Got it? What I'm saying?
But Abhishek, the customer will then only he will go and hit on this URL when it is deployed in the server, right? So
Right.
beforehand, how will education get?
See, huh. In the pre-production, that means suppose it is a stage environment. So now stage environment, even not the customer, but some of the representatives from the customer side, which we call it stakeholders, right?
Okay.
They will be testing it anyhow,
Oh, okay.
right or wrong?
Yes, yes.
Huh. So for them also, they are just the representatives, like you will be having the customers on the third party side. So they are the representatives of those customers. Before deploying any website in the production, they will let you know that this request is failing. Okay, they will let you know.
Okay.
So then what will happen? You will correct on your side whether this request we have to create any kind of path-based routing for this request, or we don't have to
Mhm.
create it. Or we just need to
Okay.
simply educate our stakeholders that no, no, this is not a URL. Whatever the URL we are using is this much. Okay. So
Okay.
then they can carry ahead and educate their customers, basically the stakeholders. Okay. Got it what I'm saying?
Yes. So means this means it's a kind of testing, right? Like
Yes.
we'll do the you will go with the use
It's
cases,
it's a
test
kind
cases.
of basically evaluation. Okay, you are evaluating the post deployment conditions after deploying any application into non-production environment. Okay,
Mhm.
based on those
Okay.
evaluations, you will proceed ahead to deploy that application into the production environment.
Okay. So if any one error also come, it will not get
It
deployed.
will
So
not
again,
deploy
then we
into
have
the
to,
production. Yes.
okay, we have to inform them like you are going in the wrong URL or path, or you
Yes.
are giving the wrong request. So that's why.
Yes. So actually, this is why this is a part of like this. Like before, if you deploy this into the production and you are getting the same failed alerts, then your management will start to question you, right? Why you are getting these failed alerts? Okay. That means user is not educated, stakeholders are not educated, and they are using the wrong URL, right?
Okay.
So by this, you will come to know that they are using the wrong URL, right? So that's why we set all these alerts, like for failed request also.
Okay.
Have set a long timeout. I should set it 8. I was about to set it 8 minutes. Okay, this is the next one is passed. You can see, right? So now there are no more failed alerts. Okay, now it will start deploying into the production. Okay, so it has passed the release gates before the timeout period. The timeout period is what? 8 hours. Okay, if I would have set the timeout period at as 8 minutes, then it would have failed into the production environment. Got it?
Yes, yes, Abhishek.
Okay, so this is release pipeline. This is only meant for release. You cannot build using the release pipeline. This is only meant for, definitely you can deploy using the build pipeline, but if you have to follow the continuous delivery process, like checking with the gates and all these things, manual intervention, all these things you can perform with release pipelines.
So the test, the evaluation which it is doing before deploying to the production.
Mhm.
So this thing between dev test and production, we can we include manual intervention? Like this is the automation, like doing with
Yes.
the help of automation, right? But if I want to show to my client, like, see, these all things have been done, and you
Mhm.
prepare one release date, on that day we will deploy to the production. So is it possible?
Yes, schedule is possible, no? You can see. Uh, Post deployment approval. Okay, let it be. Uh,
Because in companies like this process is only following, right? Like one day there will be a release date,
can you
and
see this
on that
schedule?
day,
Can you see this schedule?
yes,
This
yes,
schedule is for that purpose only what you are talking about. Like you can deploy into
okay,
that day or after this much hours.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
If you edit this pipeline, now you are talking about this. Okay, this is pipeline, not pipeline name. So if you see for the task here, okay, you can formulate in YAML as well, no issues. Okay, but mostly we go for this one only for the release. Okay.
Okay, so in company, like what for CI we were writing the pipeline. So here directly in the portal we can integrate it,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes. Directly you can do it.
Okay.
If you check the YAML code, there is YAML also given here. Right hand side, if you see, this is the YAML code for that.
Ah, yes.
This is, please do not forget to delete your whatever you create because alerts will also charge. Huh? Okay. Alerts will also charge. Delete everything. Remove the trigger and everything. Otherwise.